Here are death statistics for London published in 1761 for the year 1760. And note, there were only four murders and there were four executions. An eye for an eye. You didn't get to go to jail like today's corrupt justice system, or I should say injustice. So you didn't get to live if you were a murderer. And that should go for today as well. So it says apparently London was safe when the city was white. Now there's what, like four murders a day? I'm exaggerating, but there's way more, which I'll get to. Note that 12 people died from quote unquote evil, whatever that means. I don't know what that means. Note there was a 110-year-old who passed, so people obviously did live for a long time. In fact, there was what, five people over 100, and you can see there was over 1,500 people who were 70 and above who died. I mean, it's pretty good, especially for back then. A lot of people, unfortunately, a lot of children under two passed, and that's what seems to really have lowered the life expectancy back then, at least in my opinion, is the fact that obviously they didn't have as good birthing care and I guess infant or small child care back then. And you can see a lot of children died. I think between the ages of being born and 5 years old, you had six, seven, eight, almost 9,000 people died. I think that's almost half or close to it. I mean, that's crazy. So if you made it over five, then you were pretty golden after that. Um, so yeah, I thought that was interesting. And then some other weird ones here, consumption, that's alcoholism, right? I believe almost 4,000 people died of that. So that blows. Obviously, that was a problem even back then. And go research who ran the liquor trade, right? Every single time. You had convulsions over 5,000. So I'm assuming, yeah, seizures, but I think that meant more than that too. Like it could be heart failure or all stuff like that, I believe. Um, yeah, you had interesting they list smallpox here, measles. Now, I didn't get to look into it yet, but what did they mean by that? Because I don't believe in 1760 anybody really had an idea of a quote unquote virus, and viruses aren't real. And I don't believe they believed that back then. I could be wrong, or maybe they did, but I don't believe they did. So what did they actually define that as? From what I briefly read, I do not believe they defined that as a virus. So it was a condition that was recognized, but not caused by a little floaty thing that everybody was going to catch. So, note 786 people died from teeth. That's awful. So I guess they didn't have dentistry back then, really. I'm not really sure what that means, but I guess they got a tooth infection or a root infection, and then they couldn't do anything about it, and it spread. Right? I think if it goes to your nerves in your face or whatever, then you die. I'm not sure. That's what I've been told. So, um, but yeah, you had 14 people overlaid. Somebody mentioned that meant that they had too much sex. I don't think that's what it means, though. I think that means that like an adult rolled over and laid on their infant by accident or something like that. So, but anyway, yeah, back to the murders. In 2025, there were 14. So, well, actually, before I get to that, so there were four murders in London in 1760, and there were, from what I read, 740,000 residents. There were 101 murders in London in 2024. So that's what, about 12, 13 times more people, but yet you had what, 20 times more, or 20, yeah, about 20 times more murders. In 2023, there were 112 murders. And through 2.5 months in 2025, there were 14 murders. So they're on pace for about 67, which would actually be a lot less in the last couple of years. And I looked up a lot of the people who were murdered, and they were non-whites. And I would have to assume that they were murdered by non-whites. Um, and from what I read, only half the population of London, or maybe less, is white now. So that means if there's almost 10 million, maybe 5 million or less are white. So how much less murders would there be if the entirety of London was still white? Um, and then it said there the last execution in the United Kingdom was by hanging and took place in 1964. So obviously they don't have any Christian justice system anymore, right? I mean, if you committed murder, you don't deserve to live. I'm not talking about self-defense or anything like that, right? If somebody's attacking you or trying to kill you, then obviously you have to do what you have to do, and that's not murder. But for somebody to go out of their way and just attack somebody and murder them, you deserve to be executed. You do not deserve to live in prison and get paid for by the general population to sit there and rot or to be free in 20 years. So, and same thing goes with a rapist or anything else. So, anyway, found that interesting.